Hello guys. Despite the title sounding pretty negative, I want to quickly mention that I really like PoE2, I see a lot of potential in it, and I'm very happy that it's not a carbon copy of PoE1. But there's quite a few problems with the game right now that I want to address. The quick list that I made up here has 9 points, and probably it could be longer, but it's fine because I think that's enough for one video. And despite this video, I will keep playing PoE2 until the new league in PoE1 comes out. But let's get into it, yeah? Let's start with one of the most annoying things in this game, which is light stance. I have to say, I think I've never had more fun in the video game when I try to play it, and then I get hit by monster one time, my character bends over like I broke my entire fucking spine, and then another mob comes in and hits me again, and the same thing happens over and over again. You know, one occasional stun from time to time, probably not a big deal, but the amount of light stuns that we get is crazy. I'm telling you, I am using a Stone Charm. I'm actually playing Stone Charm instead of Anti-Freeze one. And you know what? It feels like I don't even have it. I can see it activate sometimes. There have been cases where I get stun locked to death, and both of the charges pretty much get used within like 1 or 2 seconds, and I don't really see the effect. Like, what do you mean I cannot be stunned? I clearly can because I still cannot move. The only character that I didn't really get stunned on a lot was my most tanky Witch Hunter build that I had. And if we assume that the stun threshold, baseline, is same as the maximum health, then my Witch Hunter probably has like 8 or 9,000 stun threshold. And only then, I felt like I can actually play the video game without constantly having my back broken. It generally has to be toned down a lot, because to be honest, it doesn't make the combat any more meaningful. It just makes it annoying to play the video game in the first place. Because even small stun threshold investment doesn't really change much. You need quite a lot of it to actually see the difference. It was so bad actually that I was thinking of grabbing Unwavering Stance, just to stop being light stunned over and over again. But you know what? Turns out that when I play with the Wielding Assault, it's impossible to play without the dodge roll because of how shittily coded the ability is, which I'm gonna mention like probably at the end of the video, but removing dodge roll is not really an option in most cases, purely out of mechanical issues with the game. But as I said, I'm gonna get into detail a bit later on that one, so don't worry. The next problem on the list is HP. Do you see how much health I have? I have 2000. I have 2000 HP. And that's on the character that still has 100 strength, so I get 200 HP out of that. And I have like 600 HP in my gear. Isn't that kinda crazy that I'm a level 92 character with 600 HP on equipment and 200 HP out of strength, and my full health pool as an evasion character is 2000 HP. It's extremely laughable how bad HP in this game is. Unless you play a character that is intending to use Titan's Blood and you're gonna go into like 600 HP, you will not have any life pool whatsoever. Which is the big problem, because whenever you wanna play evasion character, you're practically forced into using a hybrid with energy shield. And that really sucks. Obviously your body armor will not have a lot of health, because you need to maximize the amount of defense you get, whether it be armor or evasion, armor and evasion mix, energy shield. You will want to have as much defense as fucking possible on the body piece, right? So the best you can get is probably like 50 HP from the hybrid mod. And even if you would get a lot of HP on every single armor piece, aside of the body armor, I don't think you will squeeze up more than like maybe 2.5k life. And you know, energy shield is pretty broken with how high numbers you can achieve with it. But you know what? It's fine. Energy shield can stay the way it is, but on God, please, make HP higher. I don't know what were you thinking when you designed this game. Pretty much making HP only be accessible by stacking strength, and there's like barely any nodes in the tree that give you percentage life. But if you really want to stick to it, right? Because it would require a lot of changes. Just make more HP per level. That's all there has to be. Like, at least give us more HP per level, so we can at least get to like 3000 life health pools. And I'm gonna complain about something else. Notables. Notable skills in PoE2 are pretty boring and don't really do much. There's very few of them that really make any game-changing effect. For example, I personally like Heartstopper. It's an interesting concept. Mind over matter, pretty interesting. Changes the game. Blood magic, nothing too crazy, but it definitely does make your play a bit different. And Giant's Blood. Also very game changing, but in a very negative way, which I'm gonna get into in a second. We need more interesting options from notables. There's only very few that have like very specific effect that people use. For example, Resonance. People use it so they can get power charges on monk builds, right? But what else do we get? Eternal Youth. Wow, God bless Energy Shield. CI, God bless Energy Shield. Pain Attunement, pretty cool concept, but there's only like 2 ways that I have in my mind to be consistently low life. And I could keep going, but everyone probably understands that there's just not many crazy game-changing notables in this game, and they are pretty boring. And now I need to address the Giant's Blood. As much as the concept and the idea behind it is pretty cool, right? Like, oh man, I wanna be so strong that I can swing 2-handed weapon in one hand. And you know what? It's cool. It's a cool idea. But the problem is that this pretty much completely kills every one-handed weapon in the game. You won't be able to feel it now because it's only maces, and let's be real, maces are fucking boring, but at some point we're gonna get axes and swords to the game, hopefully, right? Maybe within the next 15 years. And that's when the problem will be more noticeable. Because think about it. What is the point of using a one-handed weapon when you can use two-handed weapon in one hand instead? And you're probably gonna say, oh, but the triple attributes makes it so hard to access those weapons. Like, wow, really? Normally you need 200 strength to use a two-handed mace in the endgame, right? Or something close to it. So the triple requirement makes it so you need 400 more strength. And I'm gonna tell you, wow, oh no, what a downside. 400 more strength, please, please GGG. Do not give me 800 more HP to my life pool, only not that. Like, getting 400 more strength is not really a downside to the build, okay? If you're gonna play mace build, you're probably gonna end up playing with life anyway. So getting extra 800 HP doesn't really seem so bad. It's pretty much nothing. How about we give it some less attack speed downside or something like that? I don't know. Just make something so there's still a reason to use one-handed weapon instead. What do you get on one-handed weapon? Like, oh wow, few notes that are specifically for one-handed weapons that don't really do anything too special. The only thing that comes to mind is probably Dance with Death, because you get 25% more skill speed with one-handed weapon if the offhand is empty, right? But like, let's be real, if you're playing a mace build and you're gonna play one-handed mace, I mean, let's be real, you're probably not gonna take this note, right? Let's be real, you probably won't do it. Like, what's the point of one-handed weapons existing in the game when the Giant's Blood exists in the game? Triple requirement doesn't really do anything. If one day we get swords and they have like 100 strength and 100 dexterity requirement, it's not gonna be an issue either, because wow, now you get a lot of accuracy, so you don't have to worry about hitting enemies ever again. And you get 300 strength, so wow, you get a lot of HP. So Giant's Blood pretty much, for me, breaks the game. Like, it breaks the choices because one-handed weapons do not exist anymore. And what even is a bigger problem, that's gonna be something that I'll be addressing later, is if you're wielding two-handed maces, you can get plus 14 levels to all melee skills in the game. I'm gonna talk about it in a moment, because first we need to address something else. Actually, never mind, we're addressing it right now. Extra skill levels are extremely problematic thing to deal with. Just think about it. You can get plus 7 on weapon, whether it be like a crossbow, two-handed mace, staff, quarter staff, wand and focus. You get plus 7 to your skills, right, if you want to. Then you can get plus 3 from the amulet. There are some passive notes in a tree that give you plus 1 to cold and plus 1 to chaos, for example. You have a diamond unique tree jewel that gives you up to plus 3 to a specific spell. You have Gemlink Ascendancy that gives you plus 2. You have support gems that give you plus 1 of a specific type. You can roll plus 2 melee skills on gloves. You can roll plus 2 minion gems on helmet. You can get unique helmet that gives you plus 1 to everything. You can get Val enchantment on amulet that gives you plus 1 to everything. There's so many ways to get plus level skill gems that it becomes practically expected of you as a player to have your skills around level 25, 30, maybe above 30 in some cases. Which means that if it's expected of you, then the game will be balanced around the idea that you're gonna do so. What happened to minions? Minions got fucking gutted endgame because people would have way too many levels on them. Which means that now, whenever you go above 20 with the minions, you're kinda expected to do so because the game is balanced with the idea that you will do so. And what it means for the game, that it kills any diversity. Oh wow, we have so many cool unique amulets in the game. Well, you cannot use them because they don't give you +3. They already have to compete with the stats of the rare amulets, because let's be real, the rare amulets will give you better stats baseline than a unique, but unique might have some cool gimmick to it, right? But aside of just competing for the base stats, you now also have to compete to plus levels. And it makes it absolutely not possible for like some random unique cool amulet to compete with a rare one. Now when you have an ascendancy like Gemling that has like entire ascendancy that gives you levels to skill gems, it's less worth it because like who cares, it's 2 levels, you can get like +14 from equipment, who cares about extra +2 on ascendancy, why play Gemling? Because the more you get, the better the outcome, right? But the problem is that the game becomes balanced around the idea that you're gonna go way beyond 20. And if you don't do so, you're gonna be putting yourself at disadvantage. And that's where the Giant's Blood is becoming problematic, because if you can wield 2 two-handed maces, or axes, or swords in the future, you will technically have access to +14 levels of melee skills on them. Then you get +3 from Amulet, that's 17, you get +2 from Gloves, that's 19, and that's how we end in the point where you can just casually use level 39 Sunder. Oh wait, you can technically go higher, because if you use a specific gem you can get diamond with +3. Now we have level 42 Sunder. It's so bad that GGG put a hard cap at level 40 for gems. It's this fucking bad. So how about we tone down the amount of extra levels we get, and how about we balance the skill gems to be more reasonable around 20-25, not fucking 30-35. Let's remove plus level to skill gems on amulets completely. I think keeping the +1 from the corruption is perfectly fine, but amulet itself, baseline, should not be able to roll them. The unique jewel that can roll from 1 to 3, I would lower it to be 1 to 2. I would personally completely remove +2 from gloves and from helmet for minions, because we don't get something like this for projectiles unless you are a bow user. If there is much bigger downside to Giant's Blood, I would be perfectly fine with keeping +7 on weapons. I would remove +1 from wands. So if you're using a wand and a focus, the maximum that you can get is +7. But if you're using a staff, you should be able to get +7 and maybe get a +1 from the corruption on top. So there really is a reason to use the staff in the first place. Because let's be real, nobody's fucking using staffs. Because what's the reason of using a staff when you can use a wand and a focus? So this way, if you're using a staff, you can get possibly +8, making a staff at least having some direction. That so if you want to have the most possible levels for the spell, then you want to use a staff. It's just me giving some ideas, right? Because like something needs to change. I don't think it's a sustainable idea in the long run, and it's definitely gonna become a balancing nightmare if we're gonna just keep so many levels above 20 being accessible. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's continue with another problem, which is critical damage. Critical damage is so ridiculously easy to stack, you have no idea. This is my crit crossbow build, right? I'm using Amazon, I wanted to test out the new stuff, right? I'm playing with my crossbow. And you know, crossbow is not exactly the most turbo crit based weapon. If you wanna compare to something like quarter stars that have a base crit chance of 10, like yeah, crossbow is not really up there, right? And my problem with crit damage is that it's so easy to stack. Look, I'm sitting at 600% crit damage bonus. And you know what? I will tell you, it's quite a low roll. And why is it a low roll? I still could technically have crit damage on my amulet, right? I could technically have gloves with crit damage on them to maximize the damage. And I would be sitting probably around like 700% then. But wait, there's more. Because my weapon does not have a crit damage on it, right? And turns out that when you have a roll that says 30% 2 crit damage multiplier. By the wording of it, I would assume that it means that I get 30% flat crit damage. But it's wrong, because you know what? It actually multiplies your crit damage bonus. We have a very broken support gem called Overextend, right? It gives you 30% more crit damage bonus, and the only downside is that you put dazed on yourself when you crit. And it doesn't matter, because even wind blowing your direction will stun you in this game, so like you would get stunned anyway, so getting dazed doesn't really change anything, right? If I take it off, my crit damage goes down to 457, right? And now that I get 30% more, it goes up to almost 600, right? The crit damage on the weapon would do the exactly same thing, because it's not 30% flat, it's 30% more if you get it on the weapon. So my crit damage would go to like what? 750, 800%? And that's not even that crazy. And that's not even like the upper limit of it. Because technically, if you play Infernalist, you can get 50% more crit damage from Ascendancy, and Infernalist is also one of the characters that can be consistently on low life status if you use a unique belt, and get another 30% more critical damage bonus from this. And you know what, let's keep going to make it more funny. If you look at Sunder, Sunder also gets 100% increased critical damage bonus by itself by existing. And you get guaranteed crit if you use it against someone with broken armor. So technically, it would be very easy to make Infernalist Thunder that deals like what, 15 times the damage, 20 times the crit damage. It's a big problem because getting crit damage is so easy that even if you don't have crazy high crit chance, it's almost impossible to compete with a crit build by doing a non-crit build. At least back in the day we could have had lucky damage with lightning skills, you know, if you don't crit. That was like at least little something if you wanted to make a non-crit build. But now it's gone. Now you can just pretty much crit by 20 times and still get lucky on it, so why not? Crit damage is a problem, and it definitely needs to be toned down. Like, there's too many multipliers on top. Getting 15% crit damage per note is crazy. It's so much. Like, it's so much. And if you get the big notes, like plus 35, plus 30, plus 35, sorry, plus 45. The amount of crit damage bonus we get from 3 and like then gets all multiplied is so much. It also needs to be toned down a lot. Another problem that is actually not gameplay related, right? When I run maps and I just kinda play the game, I'm having fun. But then that one moment comes in when I need to go to the trade and buy an item. And holy shit, trading in PoE2 is the biggest nightmare. It's so bad. It's terrible. Price fixing for specific items in this game, ridiculous. You can have like 1 or 2 full pages of pretty much organized groups just price fixing the shit out of you, hoping that someone will make a mistake and sell something on the very underpriced level, right? The price fixing issue is huge. Then you wanna try actually buying real items, and you message like 12 people and not a single one of them is responding because, God forbid, actually selling the item that you put on sale. And then I finally find someone who wants to sell the item. I try to go to their hideout and I get fucking error that I cannot join any locations. Then you ask them, hey, can you come over to my hideout? But they don't understand because they don't speak English, and then they just kick you out because you didn't come to take your item. Like, holy shit. Can we finally get an action house or something? Something more automatic, something that does not require fucking human interaction. Like, I'm not surprised that people likes to play SSF because then they don't have to deal with this fucking cancer of a trading. Oh my god. I'm not even trying to buy anything right now and I'm already angry just thinking about it. But hey, trading is not everything that you have to do, right? You can always craft your own items, but no. Crafting in PoE2 still fucking sucks. There's no crafting. There's only lucky gambling. That's all we have. You can gamble item to be good, and then you are like, yay! Slot machine! Yippee! I love slot machines. That's the crafting in PoE2. Oh guys, but we added talismans that you can put into the sockets that you're already probably using to not have 2k life. It's crafting, man. No, it's not. Another thing is visual clarity. And for me personally, like, there's so many on-deaths effects in this game. It's crazy. There's at least like 7 different monsters that explode on death on their own. And it's not like a rare modifier, right? If it's a rare modifier, sure, no problem. I understand. But there's so much shit in this game that just explodes out of nowhere on death. It's annoying. It feels like I need to constantly stop playing the video game because I need to wait for them to explode or for the burning ground to fucking go away. Sometimes you can't even see shit because you have maps like Steppe where you have trees blocking the view. There's grass. Like, why do you add grass to the maps? Not like any PoE player has ever seen fucking grass in their life. Why do you add grass? Fucking mushrooms in the caves? Like, bro, I don't need mushrooms on the ground to enjoy the game. They only obscure the vision. I'm someone who likes playing Expedition in this game. You know what's happening with... You know what happens in Expedition? You have those fucking piles of sand, and for some reason the skill effects generate on the ground below the piles of sand. So sometimes, when mages summon this big exploding circle, you can maybe see like 20% of it because everything else is under the sand and you just die. Some of the monsters from Expeditions leave damaging ground. You can't see it either because it's entirely under the sand, and you can only notice because your health bar is fucking draining away and you're like, oh, I need to get out. Visual clarity is at all-time low because of the terrain. Then you have monsters that by design just detonate corpses. That's very fun and exciting mechanic right there. Very meaningful gameplay for me. Very meaningful. You know, one here and there is fine, but like, I just feel like it's constantly happening. Every single map I have to deal with this shit. Then you have something like temporal chains roll on the map. Nobody likes temporal chains on the map. Enfeeble just to deal less damage is fine. Temporal chains, when you constantly feel like you're running with 2 broken legs, is not fun. It's not a gameplay. It's not meaningful gameplay. You just make me crippled, and then you point finger at me and you laugh at me because I cannot run. That's what temporal chains is. It's like chill ground, but at least chill ground you see where it is, so you can play around it. But no, temporal chains is like you enter this map, you have broken legs. Enjoy, have a run, take a hike. And the final problem that I'm gonna mention in this video is build diversity. Like, I understand that it's an early access, and you clearly decided to make spears overpowered because you wanted to have as many people as possible playing and testing them, right? There's a problem when 70% players are running lightning spear or fucking rake. Like, how did we go so wrong with this? With the balance? And you know what? I really liked all of the big nerfs that happened from point 1. I really like it. I hate builds that just clear entire screens with like chain explosions with heralds. I hated seeing everyone playing gemling and stacking attributes, okay? All of the nerfs that happened from point 1, I 100% agree with, alright? There's maybe like singular few that I'm kinda confused about, but sure. Maybe there was something about them that I couldn't even know. And this league feels kinda the same now, but with the lightning spear and rake. And here's one thing that I kinda don't know if it's a problem with the servers, right? But for example, long time ago, back in the day, when I was starting my adventures with PoE1, right? 15 years ago or whatever. When you would use Cyclone, the game would desynchronize and you would kinda dislocate your character from what server knew where you are, right? And at some point, the server would force you to be where you're supposed to be, and you would pretty much just teleport to the location, suddenly surrounded by enemies and probably dying, right? And there's a lot of problem like this in PoE2 as well. If you're using Thunder's Leap with Spear, if you're using Whirling Assault, which is probably one of my favorite abilities in PoE2, but it's coded so fucking bad, it's nearly unusable. Like, look at this skill. It was clearly designed to be able to go through the enemies. And what happens now is whenever you run into the enemy, you completely stop moving until the enemy dies. And I don't know if it's a server problem, but sometimes it takes like 0.3 seconds, and sometimes it feels like it takes 1 full second for the skill to realize, oh, the enemy died, so my path is now open to move forward, and then the skill starts moving again. I don't know what happened with the design of this ability. First of all, it doesn't go through enemies anymore, even though it clearly used to. But you know, it's fine. Maybe you didn't want it to be exactly like a Tempest Flurry, right? But why is it so bad at detecting when the path is clear again? Because even if you would stop and then would instantly start moving when the enemy is dead, it would be not even that fucking terrible. It would be somewhat okay. But it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare that it takes so long for the ability to start moving again. And if you are using it from a standstill, then the character will not even start moving even if you try. That's why I cannot give up the dodge roll, for example, on my build, because if I do, then I kinda cannot move my character because the ability just doesn't work properly. I made a forum post about it, but I doubt it's ever gonna be addressed because there's too many people crying that there's not enough loot in the game. And this ability also makes so many desynchronized problems where I just use it and my character doesn't move on my screen, but I can see enemies away from me getting hit, and then I just get teleported to where the skill ends moving. So I don't know if that's... I don't know. I don't know if it's a server problem, is it the coding of the skill problem, but there's quite a few abilities that make those desyncs happen, and it definitely needs to be fixed. So that's pretty much it. Remember to subscribe and like, send it to your friend. If you think I'm full of shit, let me know in the comments, or tell me that I'm right, because I'm always right. See you in the next one.